Since the moment this woman was arrested 7.5 years ago, Monica has steadfastly maintained that she is innocent of these charges, and she has consistently pled not guilty in this case. Monica has from the start made clear that there was absolutely no reason, no desire that she would have ever wanted her husband Fabio to be dead. And you will see, ladies and gentlemen, with the evidence that will be presented at trial, not anything Ms. Silverman has said to you, which is certainly not evidence, nor do we believe it will be the evidence. And not anything I say right now, as the judge will instruct you. It is only the evidence you will receive at trial, which you have to base any decision you make on. Over the last Friday and now Tuesday, you have heard hours of argument from Ms. Silverman about the evidence she expects to be shown in this trial. But over those hours and hours of slides and photos and notes and texts and statements about what she expects the evidence to be, you have not heard one piece of evidence, one text, one letter, one recorded call, one statement by Monica Sementilli, or any indication that Monica Sementilli ever uttered a word about wanting her husband dead. We believe that the reason that Monica is not guilty of these charges is that the evidence will show that everything Ms. Silverman talked about, everything she presented before you in the last 2 days, has only to do with two things. One, that she was having an affair with Robert Baker, and two, that it turned out that Robert Baker decided that he was going to kill her husband. No reason that Monica would have wanted, no motive, and no interest, and that it was Robert Baker who made that choice for her, and then convinced her, pleaded with her, deceived her into believing he was an innocent man, and that the reason that she was caught up in this whole thing was because he had been targeted and was not guilty. Ladies and gentlemen, the evidence is going to show you that this is who Monica and Fabio Sementilli were together on October 31st, 2016. This is 4 months before Fabio was killed. And you will see for yourself the relationship between Monica and Fabio. This is a video taken in an intimate moment, not in public, not in some show of their relationship. This is their relationship. And this is who Monica and Fabio were together on January 10th, 2017, only 2 weeks before Fabio was killed. And this is who Monica, Fabio, and their 2 daughters, Jessica and Bella, were on January 15, 2017. Just 8 days before Fabio was brutally murdered by Robert Baker and Christopher Austin. They were happy together. They were loving each other. They were close, each other's best friends, husband and wife for nearly 20 years. And absolutely no reason in the world that Monica would have wanted Fabio harmed. No reason in the world that Monica would have wanted Fabio killed. And the prosecution in this case is going to ask you to believe that Monica Sementilli suddenly went from this person to being some kind of criminal mastermind who plotted and orchestrated the brutal killing of Fabio in his own home. On behalf of Ms. Sementilli, we implore you to do one thing, which is wait until you form any opinion in this case, until you've been able to look and see the evidence in the case. Not Ms. Silverman's claim about what the evidence is, not even my claim about what the evidence is, but the evidence that will be presented in this case. The witnesses who will talk to you in this case. You decide whether it's truthful testimony. You decide whether those witnesses are believable. And that is how we have justice in the United States of America in a criminal trial. Not just because a prosecutor tells you it's so, but because the evidence either proves or doesn't prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Monica has committed a crime, that Monica somehow wanted her husband dead for some reason. And over the last 2 days, I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, there has been no evidence presented to you at any time that Monica Sementilli was plotting, conspiring, or indicating to anyone before Fabio was killed or after that she wanted him dead. You will hear the evidence presented that Monica Sementilli loved her husband. You will hear from the people that knew them best, who spent time with them in the weeks and days before Fabio was killed, that they were a truly happy, loving couple. But what you've heard over the last 2 days is not evidence that somehow Monica Sementilli was plotting to kill her husband. There's no statement, there's no text, there's no recorded phone call, even as Ms. Silverman says, when Monica would have thought no one was listening. But what you have heard is hours and hours of graphic statements about the fact that Monica had an affair. What you've heard is that there will be evidence of character assassination, that somehow, because Monica was having an affair with Robert Baker without her husband's knowledge, that because Monica Sementilli was not wanting others to know about that affair and covering it up and using text messaging that she deleted about that affair, that somehow that is supposed to prove to you that Monica Sementilli is guilty of murder, that Monica Sementilli is guilty somehow of conspiring to kill her husband because she had an affair. We have not from the start of this case 7.5 years ago, ever once contested that Monica Sementilli probably made the most fatal mistake of her life when she entered into an affair with Robert Baker. But that has nothing to do with Monica wanting Fabio dead or conspiring to kill him. There's going to be evidence that after Fabio was murdered, in her grief, the person who stepped up to replace Fabio, to control Monica, to surveil her, to get her to be the center of his world by making himself the center of her world, is Robert Baker. And you will hear evidence over and over and over again about the fact that Monica was duped into believing that Robert Baker had nothing to do with Fabio's death.
All right, we'll step aside here and take a break. Coming up on Court TV, the defense continues to admit to Monica's affair, lays out the details, but makes a key point about what she says is a lack of motive. Keep it here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, a Florida teen who shot and killed his father now stands trial for stabbing his mother. We're diving deeper into today's opening statements and testimony.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV. Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV. 01 now.
All right, folks, before we head back to court, let's check in with our guest, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor David Bruno. David, what do you make of the defense's opening statement so far? Seems to me, as you mentioned, they might be going after the agreement or the lack thereof.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we have trials, Michael, and this is why we do so well, because this audience loves them. But guess what? You know, some of the things that bother me right now is, like, I see the argument that she's making, but at the same time, like, when she points to the video shortly before the death, when she talks about the love that she had for this decedent, the troubling part about it is that's not how she acted. That's not what was going on behind the scenes. This is not the fairy tale relationship that she's trying to portray. And at times she's understanding. She's saying, hey, look, there was adultery, there was cheating, there was this relationship. But at the same time, it's hard to believe, I think, in these jurors' minds that both can be true at the same time. And when you have lawyers coming in and making opening statements, especially opening statements, you need to be the credible source in the courtroom. You need to bring authenticity. You need to bring credibility. You need to bring a likable character, both as the attorney and the defendant. And I'm just worried a little bit. It's a little bit shaky here when you say that this is such a loving relationship, and the actions behind the scenes, the selfies, the exchanges, the pictures being sent is just not consistent with that framing of the facts.
David, is that something that you can check for in jury selection? This idea that these two things can exist in the same plane. They can exist at the same time. The fact that you're having this torrid affair with this guy who's, you know, kind of from the other side of the tracks, but yet and still love your husband, still love your family, and kind of get caught in the middle there. Is that something that you can sort of, you know, get the right jurors who are willing or at least able to keep an open mind about that possibility?
Yeah, you can fight for the open-ended questions or some questions that are tailored with the idea of ferreting that out, honestly, Michael. But it really is the judge that is the final decider on what those voir dire questions are going to be. How close you can get really depends on the judge. With that being said, I wonder, can you bring expert testimony in on this particular fact? Because a lot of people are going to have that sort of idea. How could you say both? And maybe it's a mental health issue. Maybe it's something that could be explained by a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a social worker. That could always be in play. It has to get through the gatekeeper of the rules of evidence, has to be reliable. But with that being said, I think there has to be some sort of explanation to get the jury to understand understand that those two things can coexist.
And you make an excellent point, because really the affair is the thing. She kind of seems to say that the affair explains a lot of her behavior. The reason why she acted the way she did, erasing things, using encrypted apps, things along that line. So she really needs this jury to believe it. And you know what? At the end of the day, midlife crises are not just for men, for women as well. Maybe you get somebody to come in and talk about that as well. All right, David, stand by. We're going to get folks back inside that California courtroom. Jurors are back from the break listening to the defense's opening statement. Now, Monica Sementilli's attorney asserts that even though she had this affair, it doesn't mean that she wanted her husband dead.
They were laughing, dancing, living as a couple. And yes, Monica Sementilli had an affair. Now, the prosecutor is going to ask you also to believe that two things cannot possibly be true. That it cannot be possible that Monica Sementilli loved her husband, loved her family life, and also that she had a sexual affair. And what you will learn from the evidence in this case is having a sexual affair doesn't mean you want your husband to die. Through the course of 2016, the evidence will show you, ladies and gentlemen, that Monica was able to balance her family life, her home life, with her affair. You don't be, let me say this. I think the evidence is going to show you that during that summer and fall of 2016, prior to Fabio's brutal killing, what people observed is that Monica Sementilli was happy. She wasn't gone. She wasn't remote. There was no conflict in the house. She never made a single statement to anyone that she was critical of Fabio or that Fabio was critical to her. You are not going to hear any witnesses say they even saw a fight between Monica and her husband. It was a happy home, and Monica Sementilli was clearly balancing both. She was definitely home. She was definitely involved with Fabio still in the girls' lives, but she was also exploring a sexual affair with Robert Baker. We know from witnesses who will be in this courtroom, even Fabio's son, Luigi, his adult son, in the fall of 2016, Luigi comes to town with his girlfriend, and they actually live for 3 weeks in the Sementilli home. Every day around Fabio and Monica, see them, see how they're acting, and Luigi himself says he only saw love and friendship and nothing that was anything but Fabio and Monica were together and happy. And you'll see from that evidence that while the prosecution will tell you over and over and over again about the sexual nature of Monica's relationship, that even that the sexual nature of her relationship with Robert Baker was unusual and kinky, and that they even at some point started having sexual relationships with other people. That has nothing to do with a motive to kill. Nothing. And I ask you to consider, as you listen to what I understand from the prosecution as even a detective reading to you, describing sexual videos between Monica and Robert Baker, that again, her sexuality, her choice, which some of us may disapprove of, to have an affair has nothing to do with wanting her husband dead. You will hear witnesses in this case tell you, Monica's best friend, Deborah Obad at the time, that in May or June of 2016, she started to suspect something was up, that Monica might be having a dalliance of some kind. She was dressing up more, she was putting lipstick on, she was out when they would come over with Fabio. She was just a little more excited and put together than usual. But Deborah Obad will also tell you, who, by the way, Deb's going to tell you she was a very close friend of Fabio's also, that there was nothing she saw in terms of Monica's dissatisfaction or upset or anger or anything from Monica Sementilli that indicated anything that was wrong or that she was unhappy about. You are also going to hear that at some time during the fall of 2016, you will learn that Monica Sementilli made clear to Robert Baker one thing. When Robert Baker told Monica Sementilli that he wanted her, that he was not wanting anything but for them to be together, that she should consider leaving her husband and being with him. And Monica started talking about her family life and her love for her children. In fact, you'll hear from witness Matt Nurse, her trainer. At one point, Monica Sementilli spoke to Matt Trainer about being unfaithful, about a sexual affair or the potential of a sexual affair. And you'll hear that Matt Nurse said to Monica, why wouldn't you just get a divorce if you're going to have an affair? And Monica told Matt Nurse, why would I ever want to throw away 20 years of marriage? Monica Sementilli was not interested in leaving her husband. She was not interested in leaving her family. She loved her family and she loved being a part of her family. And what is absolutely going to be clear from the evidence is that when Monica Sementilli told Robert Baker that she wasn't interested in leaving her husband, that was a fatal mistake that Monica will have regretted for the rest of her life.
All right, it's a situation a lot of people find themselves in. All right, we'll step aside here for a quick break. We'll have more of the defense's opening statement when we come back. Keep it here on your front row seat to justice. We continue now with our coverage of the celebrity stylist murder trial. I'm Michael Ayala. Back now to California for the celebrity stylist murder trial. Monica Sementilli is charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder in the death of her famed Hollywood hairstylist husband, Fabio Sementilli. Now, Fabio's youngest daughter found him stabbed to death inside of the home back in January of 2017. Prosecutors claim that Monica and the man that she was having an affair with, Robert Baker, killed Fabio to cash in on his $1 million life insurance policy. Court began today where it left off last Friday, with the state continuing its lengthy opening statement. I want to get you back inside the courtroom where now the defense is putting the murder on another man charged in Fabio's death, the boyfriend or former boyfriend of the defendant. Let's get back into court.
You are going to see evidence in this case that allows you to know that Robert Baker is telling the truth. You are going to see in this case, ladies and gentlemen, a communication by Robert Baker one day after Fabio Sementilli was killed. January 24th at 2:05, Robert Baker sends a text that he's later deleted. And that text is to Monica Sementilli, and that text is a condolence text to Monica Sementilli telling her, I'm so sorry. If Monica Sementilli is the criminal mastermind the prosecution would like you to believe she is, why on earth would her co-conspirator, the man she supposedly had commit this murder, send her a text apologizing, saying he was sorry for what grief she's going through, that he's so sorry? Why would he do that? You are also going to see that after Robert Baker was arrested for this murder, after he was in custody, and many years after he was in custody, he is continuing to maintain his innocence, desperately trying in jail to convince Monica that he's innocent, to keep her in his control, to keep her in his purview. And you will hear indisputable evidence that Robert Baker, shortly after he finally confesses to having killed her husband, confesses to the crime and has been sentenced in July for life without parole. In jail, Robert Baker writes a letter to Monica Sementilli. And Robert Baker, in that letter, tells Monica Sementilli that he killed her husband in an accident, that he'd gone over to her home to drop off some kind of love note. And he wanted to tell her how sorry he was that it had gone out of control and that he had somehow accidentally killed Fabio. And he writes Monica this letter and tries to get this letter delivered to Monica, saying that he's sorry that he accidentally killed her husband. Why? Why would Robert Baker write a letter to Monica Sementilli apologizing for killing her husband and trying to make himself look better somehow by claiming that the reason he did it was unintentional, that it was just an accident, that just something had gone wrong? Why would he do that? And you will see that letter. And that brings us to the other killer, who the prosecution is going to ask you to believe when this man who has admitted he committed this murder as well, is going to get on that stand and claim that Monica Sementilli somehow knew and somehow planned. He's not going to ever testify once that Monica Sementilli ever said a word to him about wanting her husband dead. He's not going to testify once that Monica Sementilli somehow plotted or wrote to him or indicated to him that she wanted her husband dead. What he's going to claim instead is that he understood that from Robert Baker when he agreed, he says, to kill Fabio Sementilli, and did so. You are going to learn, ladies and gentlemen, that Chris Austin is going to testify like he is, not because he saw anything Monica did that was wrongful or heard anything from her that was wrongful, not because she ever told him, not because she spoke to him, not because he ever overheard her say anything. The reason you will hear him say that is because that is the only way his life will be saved. You are going to hear, ladies and gentlemen, that this is a young man who, from his first contact with law enforcement. And remember, the police waited 6.5 years to even question Christopher Austin for the first time, inexplicably. He was a suspect early on. They were so focused on trying to find evidence about Monica Sementilli, which they hadn't found, that it took them 6.5 years of this killer being free before they even bothered to question him. And there will be no doubt in your mind that Christopher Austin's claims are provably false, and that Christopher Austin is going to get on that stand and perjure himself because he was told early on, from the first moments he was arrested, that Monica Sementilli, according to law enforcement, was the only reason he was there.